Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex. This is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Marc Silvestri Day. It is Monday, so we're looking at CyberForce number 2, the miniseries, his first Series 4 image back in the day of the Founding Fathers. This is cover dated March 1993. A few things to say about this cover. First of all, it is inked by Scott Williams, although he seems pretty faithful or at least adaptable to the Silvestri style at the time, which I will continue to say is what I consider peak Silvestri in this miniseries particularly because he's inking himself. And again, I always love that pure vision of an artist penciling and inking himself. No matter what, other variants we may see with other inker penciler teams, there's always, there always seems to be this right fit when an artist inks himself. So as great as this Williams inking Silvestri stuff is on the cover here, and again, he's very faithful to Silvestri style at that time. Pretty kind of lackluster cover in the sense that, it's not anything memorable that I remember. It's not iconic in any way, right? One thing I do like about it, I don't know if the first issue had this, maybe, but I'll mention it now. This image, the box up here image, really were smart in their marketing in the sense that, it was marketed as a mainstream comic, just like a DC comic or a Marvel comic. They weren't messing with the format at all. The logo, the way it's spaced out, the little box on the left, all that stuff is obviously things that they took from when they were working at Marvel mostly, I guess, and, to a lesser degree DC comics because they had similar kind of stuff. Did DC have their faces in a box at some point? I'm sure they did. Both of them did that, I'm pretty sure. In any case, like I said, cool Silvestri art on the cover. Some interesting characters, I will say, that never really got developed. And some of the mistakes of these image guys, Jim Lee, Marc Silvestri, and Rob Liefeld, particularly, kind of made the mistake, I think, when moving over to Image Comics of doing like team books right away and introducing teams fighting other teams, good teams and bad teams and all this stuff. And what ends up happening is you've introduced so many characters and developed none of them and none of their personalities, right? Other than, Stryker, he's the guy with 3 arms, right? Impact, he's the big guy, right? Like, that's fine to start off, but I mean, this is still issue 2, so I'm not going to bitch too much about that. But that's the problem that those guys all kind of encountered along the way, right? A lot of cool-looking characters no one cares about, basically. But I will say that a lot of Silvestri's design sense I enjoy. His bad guys and his good guys. So let's go through the comic, reminding you that obviously this is Scott Williams. Inside, we've got Marc Silvestri inking himself, and I think that's where we get the best art in here. Excuse me. Definitely think this is, to me, if I haven't mentioned it before with issue 1, this is peak Silvestri that we're in, where the style is still very animated and moving and dynamic, but, maybe a little bit sleeker slightly for, the Image kind of audience, right? Little more West Coast. So pencil and inks, Marc Silvestri. Script is Eric Silvestri, his brother, or the composer. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's just his brother. Joe Chiodo, letters, and Michael Heisler, color separator, and Ollie Optics, editor. Odd. Where am I going with this? Oh, I read that wrong. Excuse me. Colors, Joe Chiodo. Letters, Mike Heisler, and Ollie Optics separated the colors. So again, just like on the cover, obviously the cover telling us exactly what we're going to get with this comic. So a big fight between these cyber teams here, the good guys and the bad guys, at least from our point of view, right? All these characters, like I said, look, they all look really cool to me. Very, could be more interesting if developed properly, but they never really were, right? Good way to start us off with somewhat of a splash page, almost, right? And we're getting those, 90s and basically at this point, Image tropes, the broken border and stuff here. I've always liked this effect of these kind of lines, I don't know what you would call that, drama lines almost, but like there's a perspective principle behind it, right? There's like they all kind of merge probably somewhere around here, right? So it's kind of like doing perspective where you choose a point, but you just have lines kind of draw towards that point, even though you're not going literally to that point. You don't see that point. When you're drawing it and conceiving of it, that's basically what you're imagining that point there when you're drawing that. Maybe talking too much about this. Let's move on. Early Image, so still lots of storytelling chops, I think, all over this comic. Some shortcuts, yes, but decent number of panels, right? So quick sketching out of some mech and tech out here. No background here, right? Some kind of those same kind of drama impact lines I was talking about being used here. More great tech down here, which I think looks really good. And probably, you know, Mark Silvestri at this point is a lot of the image guys have said that he was kind of like, you know, the master, or like the top illustrator, or like the best artist out of the bunch, or, you know, he's a professional. He's a little older. He'd been in it for a little longer than those guys. At least that's what they seem to say. So he knew about where to kind of use economy in his art, and he's doing it here, and he's doing it very well. Always wondered about this panel here. It just seems like some weird coloring mistake that happened there, right? Because it shouldn't be so hard to read as the rest isn't. The rest is colored, I mean, okay for early 90s comics, right? So yeah, they want Velocity back. She keeps running away, just like in issue 1. And boom, we get the double page splash. CyberForce coming in to save the day. Looks cool. Looks, you know, Silvestri again is a great artist, so really pulls it off. There's a funny Striker moment. I'm just thinking, looking at him, that we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, basically introducing the male components here, and the female component of CyberForce just in the back, tending to Velocity here. Good stuff. The colors are a little dark, maybe. I think they'll brighten up eventually. Maybe once they move over to that glossy paper. They're still using this thick newsprint, but which I really like, because that black line is still being absorbed a little bit, but maybe just the computer coloring is still a bit dark. I said a bit. It's not horrible. Maybe, you know, back then you kind of just took it as part of the style of the comic and the vibe of it, right? It was so much more vibrant and different than the Marvel DC stuff. So we got some great action. I mean, Silvestri's having fun here, I think. If you're looking at all this, the females and the foreshortening and the angles and stuff, this whole thing here, the two ladies, is very cool. Very well done. This effect, I keep forgetting what it's called, but like, very cool. Something about, excuse me. Must be allergy season or something. I don't know what's going on. The way, I just like the way, if you pay attention just to his face over here, impact, like it's just very quick, you know, sharp lines, not too much detail, a bit, you know, suggesting the hair and stuff. Color does a lot of work there. I just like the way this part of it is sketched out in his hands and stuff. I think it's just something about, all his textures and stuff work and are different and are fun. This kind of weird color hold effect on this guy. I mean, it works. I don't know if it's my preferred thing, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. So Joe Scioto, right? I think I mentioned before, when he's coloring, it's a lot of orange and blue. So we're still getting a lot of orange and blue here all throughout this issue. So listen, we've got, you know, kind of Marvel action sequence. Something, again, very similar to what you'd see in Wolverine, just with slightly sharper inking, right? A little closer to the original pencils, and some computer coloring. Impact living up to his name, creating some impact over here. This kind of shot of her jumping, I think, is really cool. I mean, the staging and everything, foreground, layering, all that stuff is great. Here's a shot from that image eye. And now we get the image style double page splash, but still divided into 3 panels. So there's a bit of storytelling there, and I'd like the transition from here to here. It's something akin to Mike Grell here to a certain extent, when we get Silvestri doing some extreme close-ups and the way he hatches and stuff. There's a bit of a Neil Adams vibe here, right? If I'm saying Mike Grell's very influenced by Neil Adams, so I'll go with Neil Adams. There's a Neil Adams vibe to me here, definitely. I think I just noticed it now, really. But again, inking himself here, I like how it's not completely West Coast. There's still a bit of roughness to it and grit on the hands and stuff that's very cool and reminiscent of some of his Wolverine stuff, you know. So that's why I think, again, inking himself is just the peak of his artwork here. Everything's so blue. Group Claw's blue, Velocity's blue, 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 blue. Her hair's orange. It's all orange and blue. These 2 pages, it's insane. There's a bit of like more reds and stuff here, but let's be honest. Interesting. All right, so Stryker gets the upper hand, and then he doesn't. He gets shocked. More orange and blue here, right? So this guy, Heatwave, is that his name? Heatwave, there it is. He grabs Velocity because we've been spending 2 issues on trying to save Velocity here. A lot of fighting and showing off of powers and stuff. This guy, again, that weird color hold effect, really well done here, I think. That's probably the best I've seen it. I'm again very amazed at how blue and orange it is. And then we get a bit of the, side characters. Quick 4 panels here to kind of set it up for Velocity, who she's dealing with here. This kid here, there's kind of a cartoony manga vibe with these characters, I guess, that was starting to be in vogue around that time. So I think Mark Silvestri probably decided to work that in there. Some sort of manga influenced character, some sort of Pokemon-ish thing. I love the way he draws these, the FBI guys, almost like the Men in Black, I guess, is maybe his version of the Men in Black. They've just got those faces that you think FBI guys should have, right? Basically, CyberForce, their base is below, secretly, this gas station here. And I mean, I'm looking at this here. I'm wondering if this is Silvestri already starting to use assistants and stuff. To do backgrounds. It doesn't seem like it's got the grit of a Mark Silvestri kind of piece of art. Maybe already this early in CyberForce he was doing that. I feel like he probably did the rest of it, maybe the sign and the clouds and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. Bit of a Mike Mignola vibe with those clouds there, which I did mention back many reviews ago about the Wolverine he was doing, that there was a bit of a, at least early on, a bit of a Mike Mignola influence. It almost feels like it's light boxed or assisted somehow, maybe early computer assistance for perspective grids and stuff. I mean, it's well done. It's pretty slick, but it's just a little too good. Maybe it's light boxed. If you don't know, light box is, traced on top of an actual picture, maybe a photocopy or something under heavy light. So the FBI guys into the garage, down into the CyberForce base. And while that's happening, we move to a B story here, maybe a C story even, with these characters who I never quite understood exactly who they were. There's some, kind of bandits and rapscallions and stuff. They've set up some explosives here. They're here to get something. Again, interesting looking characters. I really, I'm not sure about her. She's like a dominatrix, sadomasochistic version of Phoenix, I guess. But these 2 guys here, they remind me of some of the He-Man characters from back in the day. I forget, what did she call them? Splitzkrieg? I think that's pretty clever. I like names like that. That's kind of a Jack Kirby thing he would do, and come up with names like that. So Splitzkrieg, I think, is pretty funny. And they're German. I don't think it's quite apparent here because of the coloring and stuff. It's hard to see, but one of them has a swastika just right across his face. So I guess it's a subtle way of saying he's a Nazi. Yeah, this is what I was mentioning earlier about Stryker. I mean, I love this just full splash page with the insert panel here and here. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not even a panel, right? That's part of the image. It could almost put B, right? That's interesting. I like that. It's almost a panel within a panel. Whether done on purpose or not, that's cool. I like it. Yeah, it splits right here with the shadow. I gotta think he was conscious of that. Anyways, I'm going with too much into detail on that stuff. Like the insert panel with, again, look at these guys, like their FBI kind of look and the glasses and stuff and just the stoic square face here. And Stryker, this is what makes me laugh the most. Like, okay, Stryker's working out with a human arm, I get, because he's got muscle and stuff, right? But like, why would you work out your cybernetic arms, right? Is there a need for that? Are the cybernetics going to grow and grow cybernetic muscle? I mean, listen, I guess you could argue at some point he was going to get into the minute details of that. I don't think so. And I mean, at the same time, I mean, these all seem to be pretty much the same size. Maybe he's lifting a bit heavier with the cybernetic arms. Yeah, they look like bigger dumbbells, but yeah, just such a 90s shot here, right? I could almost imagine like Jean-Claude Van Damme, or excuse me, Jean-Claude Van Damme, playing the role of Stryker, at least back in the day. The image profile shot, right? I think they all kind of took this from McFarlane mostly. McFarlane's not the originator of the profile shot, but using it and making it really big on a page is kind of a McFarlane thing. I think he used it, right from the beginning in Infinity Inc. He was doing that kind of stuff for design purposes, but it just got kind of synthesized and what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when it's not unique anymore, it just became kind of generic, and everyone was kind of doing it. All the image guys and then the secondary image guys, and it just got diluted, I guess, as something you do when you're lazy and you want to get a page done quick. But overall, I mean, it's a cool shot for now, early on in image, and we still got a decent number of panels per page and stuff. I certainly am not going to fault Marc Silvestri on the storytelling in this. I think it's you know, he's always been really good at it. The angles and stuff, he's still doing interesting angles. Like this panel here, it's simple, right? It's Velocity and the kid going to the car, you know, dropped an orange. Just everything about it is so dynamic, though. It's almost manga. Almost. It's like American West Coast manga. This here too, all the movement that's going on, even, you know, like the drama of it, the lines, the perspective, drama lines, right? So basically this kid to get this orange is now interrupting this crew of bandits and their getaway, if I'm not mistaken. So they crash, Velocity comes to save the day, and woo, gets slapped by the Nazi. Again, I like this guy's design, if not his demeanor. There's just, again, something very He-Man about it that I like. Yeah, a lot of good storytelling here. Like sometimes even these quick drawings here that he's doing, it's just more than, like, here's where he's kind of, I've talked about before earlier when I was reviewing Wolverine issues, how I find there's a similar sensibility, that's the word I kept looking for, between Greg Capullo, Marc Silvestri, and like the Kubert guys. And I feel like they all kind of sometimes use or do this kind of panel. Like everything's in the proper kind of dynamic perspective. Everything seems to be moving. It's even warped a little bit, maybe, right? It's a little roundish. And not fully detailed, just kind of quickly done, but it totally works. And these two panels here, it's a good example of like stuff I would see Capullo do, right? There's a kinship there, a sensibility. So they've got the disc, and the kid eats the disc, is what they're saying here, right? Das Kid has the Hunger. I assume that's the accent I'm supposed to do. And this guy's British. So, of course, an American guy. I just have to say, it's pretty typical, at least back then. By Jove. I don't know like any British. I've lived in England for a year. I don't know anyone. I've never heard anyone say by Jove. But that's the British kind of stereotype back then. Take that disc out of your mouth. So he's eating the disc. What's going on? And then you got this guy. Don't remember his name. I always, for some reason, wanted to call him Master Blaster. Is that his name? Is this some weird kind of remembrance of it from back in the day? But I don't think it's Master Blaster. I don't know what his name is. Think this panel here, once again, a silhouette and the holes and stuff. I don't know how well. I mean, the coloring's pretty cool here. And all of this panel I really enjoy. I think it's well done. It's got kind of a Sin City kind of vibe, but makes sense within the context of the story here. You know, using the lighting just in one panel as dramatic effect, I think works really well, right? So it's not systematically, you know, copying Sin City, but certainly using a lot of the elements Sin City uses. And of course, you know, I don't even know if Pitt's got his first comic out by now. Maybe that first short story in Youngblood number 3 or 4 has been, you know, that issue has been published, and there's that Pitt short story. But we've got Pitt guest starring in the next issue of CyberForce, CyberForce number 3. And CYBERFORCE for the letters page. I mean, okay, it's a little cheesy, but you know, not up to me. Got some fairly cool bits of fan art here. Early days of Photoshop, right? People not, oops, forgot to cover that up in white there so the red background doesn't shine through. And here the opposite, oops, left the white in, right? I see that now that I have to mess around with all that digital art apps. Always like this shot here of Ripclaw. Again, probably, you know, to a certain extent, the epitome of again, what I liked about Marc Silvestri in this period. He's inking himself. Really cool drawing here. Good moody texture and lighting. Still a bit gritty, not fully West Coast. And I have to say, I think when I draw someone with his arms crossed, I still, to a certain extent, in my mind, think back to this shot here. I copied it a bunch of times, right? And this kind of idea of the foreshortening of the bicep area and tricep and the way this goes here. Like I've seen other people do it. I've drawn it from life drawing and stuff, but there's still something about the way it's broken down here that I still go back to. Even if it's a different angle and stuff, it really informed the way foreshortening worked, right? And you know, little clues I was getting in 93 when I'm 12 years old and I'm learning and drawing. I'm still doing really shitty drawings. You know, these were little keys that you're like, okay, I think I can do that. And yeah, like I said, anytime I draw someone with their arms crossed, I still somewhat, you know, refer back or think back to this in the back of my mind. So there you go. That's a memorable drawing from my childhood. And not such a memorable comic, I would say, from the childhood. Actually, that's probably all I pulled from this issue. Not that it's horrible or anything, but yeah, that drawing in the back and Stryker lifting weights with his cybernetic arms. Well, there you go. That was CyberForce number 2, guys. Subscribers, thank you so much for sticking around, still watching all my content and videos. Hopefully you're appreciating it. I appreciate you guys still being around. Everyone who's not subscribed, but if you're watching, please do subscribe. It really helps us out. It takes just a quick second for you to do so below, and it helps the channel get out there to like-minded people who probably like the same kind of stuff you and I do, namely comic books. Everyone out there, have an awesome day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at kingcomics.ca, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.